Before we start this video, I just want to say the audio quality will drop after about 6 minutes. Right, so I'm back again. Last time we did the serializable data for the components, and this time what we actually want to do is to make the save system. I've looked into how the scripts can be loaded, and it does look like we can make a script loader which can actually remove the asynchronicity of the actual loading of the files and actually make it synchronous, so we don't end up with race conditions, but we will do that at a later date. I'm thinking that we just do for now the save system and altering all the APIs so that it's all a consistent standard. And that's all I think we're going to do for the remainder of this. We might do the APIs tomorrow, in the next episode. So we went to parse scene. We've got after serialization. After serialization. So we want to make a function called save scene. And that's going to be a function. We did, I think, add current scene editing. We can have a name here. So we can just put in default.json. We don't even need to put JSON in it. So whatever the name is going to be. So when we load in a scene, we want to actually set this name to be whatever the scene name is. So where do we set all this information? So just have a look at this, which would not have it in. It's the problem when you get to having so many files, you don't know where you've stored all the information and functions. So get list of scenes. So this, because the scene.load, load scene, and this is the scene directory, which means it's just the scene name. Which we want to go and set parse scene dot currently editing, and then we want to put name equals, and because this is going to have slashes in it, we want to do dot split by slash, and then I think it's pop, which moves it from the end, or does it move from the start? It needs to be pop. I think it's unshift is the other way. So that should get the full name. And you know what, we can just put JSON in the end of the file. Or do we just want to just leave it at the scene directory? Which we can have a look at what the scene directory is, which is just the full name, which might actually be a little bit better for us to do in this way. So, because we can just send it to the server and have it write it for us. So So one of the things we didn't do in the after serialization was, although we did core scene, we want to make sure all this information is actually saved into the area where it the scene info. Just try and find it. Need to make sure it's saved to the actual object which is going to be saved, which means we need to have a look for the original loader, and the loader should have took in a scene and should have took the data of the scene, and at the moment it just deletes the scene, the scene data itself. So what I'm thinking is we take this data and we just slap it onto the scene data folder. So currently editing data, and it's just going to equal data. And one thing we're going to do in the parse scene is just now put a data object, and this is just going to be basically nothing. So when we change the data from this, we need to make sure that the active property is set. So let's just have a look at what's inside the data when it reaches this stage. I'm just going to refresh it just to make sure that information's been uploaded. Change this up so that now gives us this parsing at 162, which is what we needed, and that holds layers, actors, etc. So we can see how to access all this information. So now we've got to think of how I'm actually going to put this information into the data component. So when the active element is serialized, we get active property, call value. So this is after serialization. Okay, so the active property in itself is meaningless. So if we just grab this property and grab the data, we can see that the layers ID and property information have already been taken care of. So now we have this long chain of going into different levels of an object. So at this point, we need to we want to make a serialized data element, and we want to set it to just the draw value. Serialized data. Okay, so serialized data needs to just be stored in this into this area of the object, and we're going to do the same on this. The user ID, the user interface. The information may get stored into there. So when we do the same thing again, now we should get the data having actual serialized information in it. So let's just go ahead and click 143 of parsing. So cannot read property of undefined. Let's just quickly check whether putting it as an object first would change anything. So cannot read undefined symbols. Let's just have a quick check that all this information is correct. See that we would have been taken out of layer 2, actor 0, and property 0. Cannot read property of undefined. So let's just keep going back up the layers until we can find something that actually prints. So that's layers. Okay, so it's a capital L for the layers. Is that the only thing? Because it might be also capital A for actors. In this case, I is not defined, which makes sense. 0. Not really properties of undefined properties of 0. So might be capital P. And that's what it needs to be. So literally every single one of these needs to be capitalized. And now we should just be able to write serialized data to it, as well as here. Now, I don't know whether it is user interface or whether it's UI interface, but we can do a quick check before we do anything else. And it is a, well, let me grab it. So user interface, it's just how it is written in the, how I've written it. So it looks promising. So if we go into layer 2, actors, properties, property user interface, property 1, then we've got type is control, and serialized data has all this information in, which is good. So if we were to save it, which we haven't got the process at the moment, essentially because all this data is in that object, we just save the object, and it should just come back out. So we will need to change some part of the editor, which is might still be open or might not be. Looks like the editor, the server editor is not open, so let's just open that, and next to the parser, so let's just make a save scene. I could just, doesn't really matter. So there's two things I want to plug in here, which is console.log this message, and I just want to make sure whatever I'm getting back, which is going to be, should be fine. I'm just going to send it this information. Well, not this information, but use this as an idea of how to structure it. And we're going to do save scene. File name is not in the scene directory, but rather the current errors.data. This is not the data, it's the name. And we're actually going to change that. So we're going to put a prompt to the user. So equals prompt save name, and I'm just going to put the default value as the prompt name itself, and then we're just going to put the file name in the file name, and then we're going to put the scene data. I'm just going to leave it as lowercase d. Scene data has to be what's in the actual data file itself, which is just going to be a JSON.stringify, and just have the data in there. And when this returns something back, we're going to have either a res.success, and if success equals true, we're just going to alert save success successful, else save failed. And if it does just come back with an error, we can just put save failed in there too. So now all I've got to do is, and we have no button to actually save the data, so I'm just thinking, we can put the button up here. I'm just going to put the button at the top for now. So just save on click equals parsing dot save scene. So when you click that, it should run this immediately. Not this immediately, this immediately. And if the equals nothing, you can just alert now scene setup. and we can just return. And as well, we can also do if you put nothing in the actual, if you delete everything in the save bar, it will have no scene data. No scene, no. Failed to save. Let's change it slightly and then press save. Default JSON. That should go over to the server now. Enter innocent. Save scene has not been assigned. Should have been. Unless, of course, this is the game. Okay. So, obviously, I clicked on the wrong one and put it in the save server, game server, not the one I needed. It was the editor server. Let's just close this one. Don't need to delete anything. Save scene. Now if I reboot the editor, I'll click it now, it should come up with no. I want to take out that default and just put nothing in, so it knows that nothing, no data is inside the scene. Save, now scene setup. So I set up a scene now. Default. Change one of the actor data. Just save. Okay. Save failed. Why did save fail? Probably because it didn't send anything back. Right, so now what we've got to do is use the file operator. We can have a look for the create read stream. The file write. Yeah. And what is, so I need to put the file name in and the data. So the file name is going to be the message dot, you can have a look here, file name, just lowercase. And then we can put in the message dot scene data. Turn success equals true. That's how I spelled it. We've got one less S. Yes. So if I run this now with the editor, it should be able to save. Save the scene. Hopefully it'll save in the right directory. Save it, and I'll put 3 on it just to make sure that we know default 3. Obviously this is not going to be easy to read, or at least not humanly readable, which is perfectly fine as long as it loads. So now if we refresh the scene, the editor should be able to get 3 in, open it, and we should be able to load same properties, and we didn't change it. Change speed to 500, save it, save successful, and if we try reloading scene 3, property did not save, so or have we not loaded it? It's more likely we haven't loaded it. Speed is 500, so we haven't loaded it in the actual editor. Right. Editor loader. Get list of scenes. We want load data. It's not data. Scene. After ref. So property is going to be one of these new properties. So we can go p dot set, or we can do if property dot, and now this is where I need to open up the default 3 and see what else saved it as. Serialized data. Serialized data exists. Then we have to do p dot set serializable, and probably have a look at the parser. Serializable data. Oh, no, it's not the right. You've got to be careful what you copy. Set serializable. And we just want to put this information in. And now we want to do the same for the U. Serializable data, and we just want to change this to U instead of a. User interface is not defined. 61, which is just because we haven't synchronously loaded everything. Crop is not defined on editor loader 128. That's because it's a UI, not prop. Try it again. And now we've got the 500, and this actor doesn't seem to be too bothered with it. Oh, right, so if we set something like 800 here, you would see that the rectangle goes off screen. We put it 300, we could see that it takes up most of the screen. So if we save this now, so like default 4, and if we reload, we can select default 4, and you can see it's loaded in as we saved it. So everything we edited now shows up in the actual scene. Now there is a bit of a problem, which is to do with the game engine itself doesn't know how to do this. So we actually have to go in and finish the scene editor, and run the game client. As so. And just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to go into game data, manifest file, and I'm just going to change this from default to default 4. I think it was just default 4. Yes, default 4. With a space. So when we try to load this up, it should run from default 4, but because it doesn't load with the editor information, it's not actually going to pull the information into the file itself. So we need to open up the editor, JS, or the loader.js, and look at how we actually save the scene data. So we've got to look for the load scene. Load scene, we did P, and I just want to go back and reopen the file just to see what we did with the editor. It's a parser. I think it was parser at least. And it looks like it was just the editor, the loader. So we can just copy, I think this was copied, so we can just copy this and paste it where it was supposed to be. And we can do the same with the UI. Now if I reload this, it should, in theory, be the same as what was going on before. So, and as you can see, we can use it as it was intended. A few other things that I needed to fix on this was in the game engine itself, I wanted to remove the cursor. And the way I do this is to find layer container and just go cursor none, and that should remove the cursor every time you hover over it. So now you've only got the in-game cursor. and everything else should still work. So let's go away from this now and go back to the game editor. And then get to the scene. So one of the things that's a bit annoying for this is that we only have so many different types of ways to serialize. So we go back into the editor, scene logical, scene parser. We want some ways of actually editing information. So case text, which means we can have a text way of editing text here. Return value. It's the same, but break. Now let's just do the same. Different things. Text here. So text input type. And we'll just put text box. Type value equals true. That should still be the same. Then we want to put a boolean. Which is going to be slightly different, which is a check box. And it's not actually going to be set to the value. It's going to be if value equals true, else. Oh no, we don't need to put else. We just need to put checkbox. Checked. And then we can put in the text. We can put in the boolean, and it's not going to be value. It's going to be checked. And this should still apply. And what other things do we need? Could always put a vector in, which would be nice. We're going to get I'll figure this out in a second. Make sure the break is in there. Doesn't matter because it's got returning, but I like to keep everything tidy. Set attribute, checkbox. No, it's going to be number. With this, we're going to set the value to value again. This time we're going to just put .x in here, so this is still going to be an input. This time I'm going to put input x at the end. We can just scope this so if we have to use multiple vectors, we can keep reassigning using the same name. It's time to put y in, and I just want to use the input equals document dot create element, which can make it a simple div. And we're going to do div I'm wondering if I should do basically a header, or whether I should just go in and straight do the inputs. I'll just do the inputs for now. So input pen child input x, and we'll do input y. I'll put this after the fact. So now it should return it, and all we need to do on this is go into the I'm just going to put let value up here so you can use it multiple times. Value new vector value dot x equals element dot child nodes 0 dot value. We can even do parse int. Should be an int anyway, but it doesn't really matter. So we're going to set child node 1. So this will be because this is the first node that's added. We're going to put it 0, and the second node is 1. So we should now be able to have a vector as the element, and we should be able to retrieve it as well. So we might as well try this out. And to game data, I was using user interfaces. No, I'll say use the core. I think it was rectangle that we were using, and for size x and size y. So we can just return a size. And the value would be just the I think how this would work. So it's going to return a vector, but the vector is going to be then stored. Ideally, you'd want to put this dot size on its own. We'll just try it for now, and I'm sure it will break. Did I not set it a vector? Nope, size. Should be vector, not number. Set attribute on parser 87. I should have sent over the vector. I do eventually. Send back the input, so it shouldn't be too mad at that for some reason it is. Try and get load it without an error. Set attribute on oh, okay, so for some reason I put nothing in there for some reason, but so size now has two values. Cannot be property of value 53. So what does this mean? That's on that serialization. Let's have a look at the parse scene dot current editing data. Let's go to actors, properties, user interface, serialization has not been set. Or it's in this. Still is not set. Type render rectangle. I'm expecting Serialized to be here. Right, so I've got a turn value. Be one thing. Cannot be property of value at line 53. Just go through all this again. Check it's actually saving this time. rectangle, no. What object did I put this on? Serialize size equals vector. Oh, okay. So I didn't put the size to the serialized. So I didn't set up that function, so it would get a little angry either way. So yeah, can I do this to 200? Yes, it does look like it's working now. 60, chunky, yeah. And if I save it, will I be able to load it? Let me save that on the default. So close the editor. Launch the game. Not broken, or cannot be them. It's not going to actually run it because this is the serialized. This is file 4, and we updated the first one. So we just need to change it to default. Rectangle vector is not defined. It's possible that when we did the value, tool value, I'm just setting this to should be fine because it will loading up a vector which should exist at this point, and then when doing the serialized. So probably needs to be .x and .y, otherwise I'm overwriting the actual vector information. So size .value .x and .y is likely the problem. Yeah, so that's what you need to put in. It should still work, and next time we'll just go through all of the documents and make sure all the standardization, and we'll probably do some commenting as well, which is not the most fun of tasks. But it means that right now we've got something that we can open up in an editor, change the values, and it actually carries over into the game. So that's pretty decent for an editor right now.